Hi, everybody. My name is Diane Liddington. I am super excited to get started with this course. I am in this class because I am in my master's program right now, getting my master's in STEM education. The reason behind that is I am a biology and earth and space certified teacher. And that's what I teach right now. I teach biology as well as astronomy at Central Bucks High School West in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. It's in Bucks County, over by Philadelphia, just north of Philadelphia. As well as teaching science and teaching STEM fields. I am also the STEM Research Club advisor. So my students design and execute their own experiments, and then they enter those into 2 different competitions throughout the region. So, having that experience in STEM education, I think is important for me personally. And I think having this background in online teaching will really help as well. So in the Moskowitz article, she was talking about the importance of having experience in online environments. For me personally, I have taken, this is my 3rd course through Millersville. So I have taken those all online. But I've also done PD online personally, as well as through our district. Our district uses Canvas as our LMS. So I've been an online learner in multiple different avenues. As far as teaching in an online learning environment, I've got some experience there as well. After COVID, and that 2020 to 21 school year, we actually started out 100% virtual. So I had to be an online teacher for the first month. But then even when kids came back, we came back hybrid. So I still had to blend my classroom. I still had to have, I was very reliant on that LMS, on being able to utilize Canvas very effectively, because kids in front of me as well as at home had to understand what they were doing and had to be able to learn the content and have those touches with the material, regardless of whether they were in front of me or, in front of my screen. So I think that really was a place where I had some, got some hands-on learning, really in the throes of things. The other experience I have as far as being an online educator, being on the other side, delivering the instruction, is I actually use what's called the modern classrooms approach in my classroom. It's sort of a flipped model. So instead of directly instructing in front of the whole class, all my lectures are pre-recorded videos just like this, with the PowerPoint and me talking and explaining, so that kids can move through the content at their own pace. We still come together. We do whole group review. We do small group activities. We do labs and things like that. But the direct instruction piece and the note-taking piece, the first touch with the material is online. It's a Screencast. They're videos loaded into Edpuzzle, so that I get immediate feedback on how the kids are doing and if they're understanding what I'm getting at. So I think that kind of ties into some of the things, areas of opportunity and strengths for me as far as being a successful online educator. The knowledge, right? I think that's something that I've got. I think I've got a decent hold of content and subject area. I've taught all levels of biology. I've taught middle school. I've taught everything from 7th to 12th. I've taught biology. I've taught earth and space. So I've done the things, I've taught the things. So it's my 11th year. So, I've had a lot of experiences in different types of things I've had to teach in different ways and fashions and different districts. And I think because of all those different things I've taught in all those different districts, flexibility to me, I think is one of my strengths personally. I'm pretty good at looking at a situation and saying, this isn't going so well. Let's fix it. Let's do something different. And making adjustments and reading a situation, and being able to adapt my instruction, but also approaches per student, because not every kid is going to need you in the same way. And I think that that's something that I'm, good at being able to adapt to that as well. I think for me, in order to be an effective online educator, I think areas of opportunity for me, things I need to work on would be the online communication piece. I think in person, I'm really good at giving like in the moment feedback, but I'm concerned that when it's all online, I would need to be more timely about it, and more communicative with parents ahead of time. Hey, take a look at this. Hey, this is missing. Hey, check in. Really emailing ahead of time more. I feel like a lot of that communication I do in the, reactively instead of proactively. So I think in an online environment, that's something that I would need to really goal myself to work on as we go forward. I think so. Moving into the NSQOT document, going through all those standards for excellence for online educators, online and face-to-face are definitely a lot of similarities and then some significant differences. I think to me, what stood out as real strong similarities are the teaching, right? Like we know the things, right? Professional standards. Like we know our content, we know the pedagogy, we know the tips and tricks, the mnemonics, and how do we, take this really complex concept and simplify it to a point where someone who doesn't know this stuff can understand it. And I think that's something that's definitely the same. And I also think being reflective is so important in either mode of teaching. You have to be able to take a step back and look at, okay, how are things going? Is it working? Is it not? And how can I adjust to, go forward or for right now, either way, and make those adaptations. Another thing that I think is a similarity, but yet a difference at the same time. I think maintaining those relationships with kids is so huge. I think being able to connect with kids is so important. Being able to establish that rapport. Without that rapport, you're not going to have the same output from kids. I think that's the same, but it looks different. So as far as differences, I think this relationships piece is kind of belongs in both categories. I think the big difference is to collaborating with peers online is so different. How do you work with other kids? How do you build a community between those kids? And I think that that's another really big difference. It's easy and not easy, but obvious. I guess it's more obvious. How do you build a community with kids that are sitting in front of you versus that are in their own home in front of a screen? They're this big. How do you make the kid that's this big next to this big be, collaborative? Oh, that's a very big difference, I think. To go to the last article and wrap up here, because we're nearing 10 minutes. To me, reading the final article, time is the biggest challenge. When we went COVID and I started, honestly, when I started with adapting to a modern classroom approach, It was exhausting how time consuming putting all this together was and being ahead of things. You have to think ahead. You can't just go on the fly and be like, hey, here's this worksheet for today, because you have to go through your LMS, right? You have to build your modules. You have to build everything on the LMS, and it has to be incredibly transparent and understandable for kids. Being able to give feedback timely, effectively, being able to look at how kids are learning, are they understanding, checking that feedback, providing that feedback. And then building all those bits and pieces in a virtual environment is exhaustive. It just takes so much time. So anyone who thinks, oh, being an online teacher, it's so much easier. Like, you don't have to see the kids and you don't have to, oh my goodness. Do they know how long it takes to do any of this stuff? So to me, I think that would be, that's the biggest challenge that jumps out at me, is that the time. Oh my goodness, the time. So that's a little bit about me, and looking forward to hearing about some of my other classmates and getting the ball rolling.